Hello, and welcome to the Midwest Scumbag Podcast. I'm Skylar, and I'm here with my co host Elliot today. Today,
That's
we're going to be talking. Excuse me,
I'm sorry, I was gonna say that's me. Go ahead though.
that is you. Today, we're going to be talking about various topics and other things. And for the next hour, we're going to hold your attention.
That's right, because we're really entertaining guys, and our show is excellent, super popular, um,
A million
especially with
views.
yeah, at least. And then that's not even counting like downloads and all the overseas praise we get that's in a language that I can't read.
It's in a language I can't read either, Elliot.
Oh,
So don't feel bad.
well, I thought you were versed in like Sanskrit.
No, I can do German. That's about it.
Oh, nice.
And
Okay.
not even very well.
Uh, I could I could I could decipher like Latin, but nobody uses that anymore. So,
Yeah, I mean,
oh
it's
well.
really all about that ancient Sumerian
That's right. That's
Sanskrit.
that's the coolest language.
It really is. I mean, it's very cool. It's the most ancient of languages. I remember reading something about how there's like one of the most ancient um like it's like a receipt, a bill of sale, and it's about this dude that shafted another guy on some copper or some iron or something, and it like wasn't as pure as the guy was claiming it to be. Very interesting.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. That like it's one of the first pieces of like written, like written language, and it was just like a, it was like a bash piece on the dude he was writing about.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, it was just some guy was trying to buy some item, and then this merchant lied to him, or maybe didn't disclose to him at exactly, maybe kind of upsold it a little bit. So the
Yeah,
guy basically just wrote a shit piece on him saying that, hey, this isn't up to snuff, this isn't quality. Calling him
nice.
out by name, and he had to like take a hammer and chisel or whatever and nail it to a piece of stone. Like this dude was fucking pissed about it. Like you got to be real upset to
That's
leave a
dedication.
Yelp review like that. Nowadays, all it takes is just signing into your Google account and fucking leaving a leaving a shit piece on someone. It doesn't take much.
Yeah. Every time that a business asks me to write them a Google review, and I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I did it once. The last time I went to a dealership to buy a car, and the the dude straight up like lied to my face, which upsets me. That I mean I didn't realize it until the end of the day, but as he was running my credit and they were trying to do whatever with it, and he was like, "Man, I haven't sold a car. I really need to make this sale." And I was like, "Okay, bud, whatever." And then like I went on Google because he was like standing over me and was like, "Hey, write this Google review here while you're waiting." And I was like, "All
That's a
right."
red
And
flag.
yeah, I was young, I was like I'd say that, but I was like 25. Uh,
Still
eh,
young.
yeah, no, it was before I was definitely my brain was not fully formed. It was before I was 25, but like I started, I got on Google to write a review, and I started scrolling through the older reviews, and there were like two or three of them that like called him by name and said like, "Oh, this guy did so well, blah blah blah." And I was just like sitting there like, "Oh, he just told me he's never sold a car." And so we just straight up lied to my face, and I should have walked out at that point, but like the car I was trading in was in shit condition, like it was starting to fall apart, and the like radiator was not it kept overheating and stuff, and I took it in to get it fixed and it still didn't fix it, and I was just
This
like,
was a new car.
yeah, yeah, it was a new one compared to what I was driving.
Okay, but
Yeah,
not like
and I
brand new, not like 100 miles.
no, it was I want to say it was 75,000 miles on it or something. It was a used car, but
Okay.
I've never bought a No, that's a lie. I bought a brand new car once, and the payments were too high for me, and I was stupid. And I've always made really bad decisions when it's come to purchasing a vehicle.
Well, if you really want to make an impact, then you should leave them a Google review in Sumerian.
I should. That's dedication. Is learning Sumerian and then leaving a Google review.
It's very
Leave.
hard from what I hear. It's very difficult to translate stuff from the ancient language.
Man, I bet. Um, I bet it is. Because back then they could just fucking make up, written language wasn't, set until then, so they were just like, oh, let's draw this little squiggle, and that means this sound, or this word, or this phrase, even. It just meant whatever the fuck they wanted it to mean. And,
Yeah, and I
yeah.
mean it was controlled by the ruling class, of course. So it was whoever had the most advanced civilization at the time. Um, like if you're thinking about the game civilization, it's whoever developed writing first.
That was a Civ 1, 2, 3,
I mean,
4,
I think it's
5.
all of them. I'm pretty sure one of the first things that you can do is develop writing and art and culture.
Oh,
So
that makes
eventually, if your
sense.
civilization gets big enough, then yeah, that's what you're obviously going to do. You're going to, if you've got 10,000 people live, or, maybe not 10,000, but like 1,000 plus people living in the same area, you probably want them to all kind of speak the same, at least the same dialect, I would think.
Yeah. Hopefully, communication is key to everything. So, if your people can communicate, then you're in good shape until you start developing nukes, and then you're in really good shape.
Yeah, that's when you know you're a truly advanced society is when you have nukes.
That's right.
But as long as you're at like your language is communicable and able to be learned, then you can obviously do other stuff with other civilizations, and that's how we got
Yeah.
to where we are today.
Mhm. That was one of the big themes of MGS5 was, lingua franca. That's what Skullface was all about. Was like, "Oh, my native tongue was ripped from me and I had to learn another language." And it was, we
And
can
it's
talk
probably
about
a
that in
sure.
our
I mean, in the
giant MGS episode.
yes, that's coming someday. Someday, people is the the MGS Super Show,
Yeah, the MGS Super Show is,
and it
is
will
going to be
be
one.
12 hours plus, guaranteed.
I mean, easily we could fill up 12 hours talking about most of the games in the MGS series.
More
I'll
than
have to
likely,
like
yeah.
I'll have to replay them before then, just
Yeah.
as a refresher. I tried to go through and play one of the games like at least once a year, and I never really kept up with it.
Yeah, me either. I mean, I at least know MGS1 works on my computer. Definitely need a controller to play it,
Oh
but
yeah,
it works.
nice on like a emulator.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
That's the only one I was really, because you can get all the other ones on any other console nowadays, except for 4, of course, is still PS3 exclusive because the PS3's architecture is, it was like
Absolute
specifically
madness.
designed for PS3 in mind, and it's like one of the only games with
Yeah,
PS3. It's why you can't port it. I mean,
yeah. It's a true PS3 exclusive.
yeah,
Like a good handful of PS3 games have been, ported up to 4 and then 5. I'm looking at you, Grand Theft Auto 5. We know what you're doing. But
yeah.
wasn't there an announcement about like Konami recently?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, supposedly they. I mean, I don't know if it's supposedly now. I remember reading the article. It sounds like what they're trying to do is reboot some of their franchises. There's some discrepancy in the finer details of that. Like there's some, uh, you know, and people in the gaming leaks community, which is pretty popular on Twitter and other various social media outlets, they're claiming that Hideo Kojima is working on a Silent Hill game, and it's going to be with his engine. Uh,
I
I
thought that
think,
was taken away from him. I thought that was part of the whole him and Konami split. Was
no,
there
I
like,
say his engine, and I think what I mean to say is I mean the engine he used to do Death Stranding, which I believe is the Horizon.
Decima engine?
Yeah, the Decima engine. And so
Oh,
they're
but yeah, no, it made by the guys who made Horizon and Killzone. So yeah,
yeah,
you were right, but
as
I
well
think
as Castlevania. It sounds like they're doing Castlevania in-house. No one is sure if they're doing like a new 2D Castlevania or if it's going to be a new 3D Castlevania, a la Lords of Shadow, which Lords of Shadow and there was another one that came out after Lords of Shadow before 2 that was pretty good, and then Lords of Shadow 2 came out and that one was pretty bad from
uh
what I understand. I only played one and the one after it, the one on the 360, and those were pretty good. They were like pretty much God of War, but Castlevania.
oh, that's pretty cool.
Old God of War, I should say.
Yeah.
God of War original trilogy, not
Y-
God of War 4.
Yeah. The God of War clones were pretty hot when God of War came out. Like it changed up the formula for games quite a
Oh
bit.
yeah, no, there were a ton of them. Dante's Inferno.
Dante's Inferno, that's the one I was going to bring up. That I really enjoyed that game, but I played it before I played God of War, so I was like, I didn't realize it was a God of War clone until after the fact, and I was like, oh. But it was still dope. I really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, no, that one was, that was really good. I like the in that game especially. It was like how you could pick different paths based on, if you wanted to be evil or good. Although the evil path tended to be the more DPS heavy and probably optimal path, but
Mm-hmm.
it was still cool taking out all those demons. Like if you wanted to, you could just shove the crucifix in their face and absolve them or, tear out their guts.
Yeah. I really liked the animated movie that they made for it too. Like the game, I don't know if the game came out first and then they did the animated thing, but it was set up like the Animatrix where they had like 5 or 6 different animators and they took, chunks of the Dante's Inferno story and they all had their own sections of the story, but it was all in, whatever their style was, which is a little bit jarring, but I think it's kind of awesome. Like, I like animation enough to want to watch something that showcases a bunch of artists in one go, with the same kind of cohesive theme. Um,
It's kind of like how Newgrounds was back in the days with those compilations that a bunch of
yeah.
different animators would do. They would like it'd be like a Legend of Zelda, and every you know, 10 seconds would be dedicated to one animator, and then be another 10 seconds. Yeah, I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
When you can do a compilation with that kind of stuff with a bunch of different, people that can animate and draw and stuff, it really, I mean, it can elevate um, a piece. I really believe that.
Oh, yeah. 100%, man.
But yeah, like Animatrix and stuff with, just a bunch of professional studios taking their hand at animating whatever the Matrix is.
Yeah. The Animatrix was crazy because it was the whole, like, it was like expanded universe stuff with the Matrix. And they did, they covered, back like the war with the machines right before everybody got plugged into the Matrix and covered part of there was another like group of people similar to Morpheus and the Nebuchadnezzar and all that stuff. There's another ship and they were using that like dojo thing that Neo and Morpheus fight in. It was that same program or whatever, and I think they ended up all dying at the end because it was like, well, they're not in the regular movies, so
Yeah, I mean, that's the limitation. You can be within the canon but you can't interact with the canon.
yeah.
It's like that new Star Wars thing. That's like a I, I'm sorry I don't know much
The,
about this, but it's like that. There's this new Star Wars animation that came out, and it's like it seems like it's all samurai stuff. It's what it's based on.
really?
Yeah,
But
it
it's
looks
Star
really
Wars?
cool. Yeah, it's Star Wars.
Huh.
I mean, it's
I've
probably on Disney Plus, but from what I've heard is that it's not canon like at all.
um
It's not even like extended universe stuff. It's just, a set story in the universe that hey, if this could happen, but it doesn't affect or, you know, I mean, it's a
yeah.
long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So obviously there's, stuff that's not going to interact with
Yeah.
the main
There's
story.
right? That's the thing that kind of bugged me about the newer movies. All the mainline movies, they're always about Jedi, and it's like the Jedi are a dozen dudes and chicks that can do magic in a whole fucking a universe where there could be planets of giant people who are bugs and sell children, but it always focuses on magic. I don't know. I used to really be into Star Wars, and then after a while, I've moved on. I'm kind of over it.
Yeah, I agree. It's like I was really super into it at one point. I mean, I didn't come into the series until later in my life. I mean, I remember watching the prequels when I was really young, but
Yeah,
it was like one or two times when I was staying over at a friend's house and he had them. I didn't have them. All I had when I was younger were my grandfather's Star Trek VHSs, so I got to watch a lot of
nice.
Star Trek. But
That's cool.
yeah, I mean, it was a number of Next Generation episodes, and I
That's
think he
pretty
had like
sweet.
some of the older movies, but I mean, that was like really, really young, so I don't even remember them. I do know the
Yeah,
Next Generation now, since after you and I have watched it together, um, for the most
yeah.
part sober.
For the most part, I know there's good chunks of my memory of Next Generation that I do not remember.
And there are probably
Um,
some episodes not worth remembering. Like
yeah,
there was that one episode where Deanna Troy gets like impregnated by a alien or something. That was
what?
pretty bad. Yeah.
What?
I think we were probably drunk for that one when we first watched it, but I have since watched it on my own, and there are some episodes that are just like what the fuck were they thinking?
Uh, that they kind of
Like
just phoned it in.
yeah, it was just,
Uh,
it's nothing like, Darmok and Jalad or
at
uh
Tanagra.
Tanagra. Like episodes like that were really good. Or that one where he like lives out his whole life, Picard. He like lives a whole life and then comes back and like I mean it's like an old adage. It's like you have a dream and you live out your whole life and you have a family and everything and then you wake up,
Oh yeah,
but like when he wakes up he can still play the flute and it's
nice.
super sad.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, because then like later on in future episodes, you see him playing the flute, just as just for fun or whatever, and it's like, oh, you remember how he fucking learned how to play the flute, and
Yeah,
it's
like how he had a
super
whole
sad.
family and he was like a big part of the
Yeah.
community and everything. It was really sad.
Oof.
Very sad. Very good
Right.
episode. Very memorable.
Mm-hmm.
But the sad part, like the part thing is, it's like it's just as memorable as that episode where Deanna gets impregnated. I don't know if it's Deanna or if it's uh the 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 doctor. I forget what her
Crusher,
name. Yeah, Crusher.
Dr. Beverly Crusher.
I mean, they've both had similar episodes, but I remember one of them, they get like impregnated by a space alien or something, and that's like the whole point of the episode.
It's super weird. Was that one that was like the where like the alien couldn't really like communicate with anybody or whatever, and it was just some sort of weird kind of monstrosity that they were like, we
It
don't know
was
what the
like an
fuck to do with this thing.
electrical, like the alien itself was like an electrical impulse, and there was this whole scene
Oh,
where she has sex with it.
nice.
I could be getting the episodes confused because I feel like both Troy and Crusher have had episodes that have delved deep into their feminine sexuality, which I don't have any
Yeah.
room to discuss because I'm a man. But
Uh, I
I
mean, have you ever met a woman?
not
I know I
once,
haven't.
not
So,
a single time. But I mean, to get back on topic, Star Wars.
oh yeah, I don't give a fuck about Star Wars.
Yeah, me either.
It's
I mean,
which I forgot where how we got on top of Star Wars. Anyway,
probably talking about canon and stuff.
yeah,
You
that's
know,
right.
just how stuff like can be canon or it can't be canon depending on who has control of what. Like with Star
Mm.
Wars, it's pretty locked, locked
Hmm.
tight.
Oh, for sure, dude. Disney is like, oh, here's one of our cash cows that we have to keep fed and happy and roam within like a 10 by 10 square of grass and call it free range and care about it and make sure it's organic and then, secretly pump it full of hormones and
The
just sell a
sequels
bunch
were
of
anything
action
to go
figures.
by. I mean, yeah, exactly. It was
That's just
just
what they do. It's just what they do, man. It makes me sad, but that's it's the harsh reality for any Disney fan boys and fangirls out there. I'm sorry,
what movie
but
was it where they call in the future they call all movies Disney's? Is it Cloud Atlas?
possibly, probably,
I
I
can't
didn't ever
remember. I
see
remember
it.
there was a movie and they were like it was so far in the future that they refer to all movies as Disney's because that's how big their reach got.
Yeah,
Is that movies are
yeah,
just referred to as Disney's.
I, f- I feel like I might have seen. I don't know where
Have
that
you not
had
seen
come
Cloud
from.
Atlas?
I haven't seen Cloud
Oh
Atlas.
my
No,
gosh.
I heard we were in our first year of college, I think, when it came out,
Yeah.
and I think it was in English class, and the teacher mentioned it, and she was just like, "Yeah, the movie sucks compared to the book, so don't watch it. Just read the book; it's way better." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then yeah, that was I critically I've heard it's just been panned as just a bad movie, but
That's probably true. I haven't read the book. I enjoyed the movie. It drags on a little long. I mean, it's like a 3.5 hour movie. But that's like
man,
one thing I remember from it, or it's like you speak the true
yeah,
is another thing I remember specifically from it. I mean, that probably shows how good it was, and we're
yeah.
probably gonna
I
piss
just
somebody off by saying that, but
eh, whatever. All I know it was a Tom Hanks movie, and he was in it, and then it like because it covers like a bunch of different time spans of either this one person's life or their like incarnations or something.
yeah, that's probably why it's probably better as a book. I feel like that medium lends itself better to a novel than it does a movie.
Oh yeah,
It's
oh
why
yeah,
like The Stand by Stephen King. It's a 10-hour, 12-hour plus miniseries, and it's pretty good. I mean, for the time it came out, I feel like it does a lot of justice to the book.
mm-hmm.
But for something like that, 3.5 hours, probably not enough.
Yeah. Considering the book was like 1,000 some pages, right?
Yeah, 1,000 plus.
Man, a big thick boy.
Yeah,
One of those books that you fish out to hunt down giant spiders instead of just regular spiders.
and it definitely wasn't written while he was on a coke binge.
Wasn't that one of No, that wasn't one of the books he doesn't remember writing.
Cujo is the
Cujo.
big one that he does not remember writing at all.
Yeah. And
I think the
and it
Langoliers
shows.
as well.
Man. Homeboy has churned out like 1,000 books. Like he is the author to aspire to be.
Yeah, I mean, commercially. And I'll admit, I've read a good portion of his books from like 18 to 20, well, not 18, probably 14, when I was 14, up until about age 24.
Yeah.
And most of them were good. I mean, I would say the Dark Tower series was pretty good. Although it does kind of drag in the end and the ending sucks.
Oh, that's too bad.
I thought it did. but
Uh,
at least compared to like what it was setting up. But no, he has a lot of good stuff too. I mean,
oh yeah, I read the big major one of his that I read was Tommy Knockers. That one was pretty freaking sweet.
oh, the Tommy Knockers with like the
Yeah,
aliens, yeah,
with the aliens and like they unearth a ship that had crashed somewhere and it just starts fucking up this town.
the
Like
whole town.
there's like force fields and a bunch of radiation sickness and people going absolutely mad. And then at the end, uh, I think the main character dies by like the ship takes off into space and he or she, I can't remember which one it is. There's a main dude and a main chick, but whichever one it is, I want to say it's the dude, but as he's dying, he's seeing like windows and like shooting through space and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was another. Yeah, that's a pretty good one by him.
Yeah. And then
I
another one I read, it was just one of his collection of short stories. I want to say it was like the Graveyard Shift or something. Handful of stories in there. Quitters Inc. was pretty cool. It was like this dude that like he's trying to quit smoking, so he signs up for this service to like help him quit smoking. And the twist is that they like kidnap his wife and his like mentally retarded son, and then they're like, okay, well if we ever catch you smoking, we're gonna break his arm.
oh
And
my
then it was like,
god,
okay, yeah. And then it was like, and and he caves once, and he like smokes a cigarette in his closet, and they're like, we know. And then they put his son in like this electric shock room, and they're like, we're just gonna keep shocking him every interval, you know, if you ever like smoke again or something. It was, oh man, it was it was brutal.
that must not have been the one I read because the one I read had the mist in it, and that's like one of his most popular short stories because they made that movie about it and the miniseries too, which I've never watched.
Yeah,
But there was that movie, and it like actually the movie was ended up being way better. The short story,
really.
yeah. Have you ever seen the movie?
No, I know that's Mark Wahlberg though, and it's like a prime
Yeah.
example of how Mark Wahlberg is a terrible actor,
I mean, yes,
allegedly.
it is, but it's also a prime example of how you can take a adapt a novel, or not a novel, but a short story and make it into something way more because it was way, at least the ending was way
Mm-hmm.
better than how he ended it. I remember because I read that whole I wish I could remember what the name of the anthology was, but I was like I had strep throat, so I was feverish for like a whole week, and I read that whole
Man,
book in a couple days, and it was, you know, it went with the fever. I think if there's anything to say about Stephen King's writing is you should read it while you have a fever because he writes some
induce
wacky
a
shit.
fever in yourself and read Stephen King over a weekend, and that's a hot weekend.
It is, I mean, or I guess cocaine or something because he
Yeah.
writes some shit. He really does.
Oh yeah, dude churned it out like, whew, mad
So did his
respect.
wife. His wife had some good books too, Tabitha.
Oh, nice.
And then he had all those books that he read under wrote under a pseudonym. I can't remember. There was
Damn.
one about like the killer car. I think Futurama did a like a bit on that. Like it was a car that killed people.
Christine?
No, not Christine. It was about a legitimate car that had sentience or something and killed
That
people.
that's Christine.
Is it Christine?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like a car that's like possessed with a demon or something and it just wants to fucking kill people.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
That was
remember seeing
him,
part
but
of that movie.
under a pseudonym.
Oh, I didn't know that. It had always been attributed to him as far as I knew, so maybe it was a secret back in the day and he was like, "Nah, I wrote that too."
Yeah, it was a secret. It was supposed to be a secret back in the day, but eventually he came out and was like, "No, I wrote all these books under this name."
Man.
Probably
On
coked
top of
out.
all of the huge, yeah, the
It's
huge,
hard to
super
say if
long
he was
books.
coked out because then there like he got hit by a car at one point and then he was like under the influence of painkillers for a couple years
Mm,
recovering.
man.
So he just did what any good author would do and just use that for his creative juices.
Yeah.
And it led to
Nice.
some really crazy shit.
Oh, hell yeah. That idea, I don't know how long ago Christine was written, but there was another short story in that book that I read that was just called Trucks, and it was uh, like cars just gained sentience, and then they like took over this gas station that these people were in, and they just were like had to force, because they're cars, they can't pump their own gas, so they like enslaved this group of humans who just hung out in a gas station filling up all these cars as they came through, and if they tried to like fight back they'd run them over and stuff like that. it was it was a weird one, but
That's wild.
yeah. And it was super weird to me. I was like, they could just not do it, but I think that was one of the options that they tried to do, was that they refused, and then a car like ran over a baby or something. It's been a long time since I read it. I could be completely wrong.
I mean, we don't do fact checking on the show.
No, we do not.
This is
And
all
that is
fire and forget, baby.
that is a Midwest scum promise that we are not going to fact check what we say.
Exactly. If we do, then go on Twitter right now and cancel us.
That's right. Tweet
Hashtag
at me.
cancel Midwest scumbag.
Yep. Do it. I'm not on Twitter,
I'm
so
not Twitter, the
that's the
show's not on
secret.
Twitter, but you're more than welcome to go and create that hashtag yourself.
Yeah. Make sure to make the hashtag, and then also throw in the link to all of our distribution pages.
Oh yes, we're available
Anchor,
on
Spotify,
Spotify, yep, Anchor, Spotify,
yeah,
YouTube.
YouTube.
You can find us
As
on
of
YouTube now.
as of yesterday, Google Podcasts is on board. Um, I think Apple Podcast is confirmed. They reached out to us actually and said, "Hey, we know you guys are super popular and super famous, so we need you to join Apple Podcasts." And I
Steve
was like,
Jobs rose from the grave himself to type up an email and be like, I was so moved by your guys' first 3 episodes that I
"That's
want to
right.
sponsor you personally.
You are wearing a Steve Jobs shirt right now, right?"
I It's not like I have anything else in my wardrobe.
It's just all Steve Jobs
It's all
shirts, and then
Steve Jobs face, Steve Jobs quotes, Steve Jobs
mhm.
you know, I follow his diet to a strict regimen. I don't go to the doctor at all anymore.
Nice. Who? Yeah, who goes to the doctor?
Yeah, you don't need to go to the doctor at all.
You know, no.
All you need
I
is a lot of money, which I have.
That's true. You are my richest friend. Um, second to me, of course. Uh, forgot what I was gonna say. Uh,
But yeah,
oh, I was gonna.
you can find us anywhere.
Yeah, we are. We're on all kinds of platforms now, podcast wise. It's kind of cool, and it was way easier than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, if we weren't, even getting on YouTube wasn't so bad. It was we decided to go the route of just putting gameplay footage over the audio, just so that there was something, in case people put it on in the background, like I do
Yeah.
whenever I watch some podcasts. It's nice to have some kind of audio feedback, even if it doesn't line up with the show, just to
Mm-hmm.
watch. Like if I'm just browsing, shit on my phone, I can look up and be
Yeah.
like, oh man, that dude's terrible at Don't Starve.
Ooh. Oh. Yeah. I heard the guy that you're using. His gameplay is really bad. I'm trying not
It's
to.
not terrible. I mean, your Dead Souls gameplay was pretty bad though. It took you a while
Oh,
to hit that first boss.
dude, I am bad at Dead Cells.
Dead
It's.
Cells, yeah.
I finally. Well, I had to look up a guide. Because I was playing it, and none of the people who watch me as I play usually interact with me. But there was one person who was like talking to me, and I had fixed my Twitch overlay so that I could actually see chat messages while I was playing. The first forever, I was just playing a game and hoping that people were chatting, and they weren't. But I couldn't, I couldn't see anything. But anyway, he went through and he was, asking me some questions like if I had this specific rune or this, went this way or whatever. And then I was like, oh, I should like look up a guide so that I'm not just stupid looking, you know? So I made a bunch of progress on it, but I haven't played it since.
I mean, some people like that. Some people like watching people not, look up guides or take time to really, they take the time to learn to play the game.
Yeah.
And there are
Which is
some
what
people
I
that
try to
hate
do.
that. You,
Yeah.
you can't please everybody on any platform, especially
No.
when it comes to video games, because there's always going to be somebody that's better than you. It's
Yeah.
it's a real issue with like RuneScape,
Oof.
streamers specifically. It's like if you're not, flicking your prayers at the right time or doing exactly what is optimal, then you'll get flamed. But there are
Yeesh.
also people that enjoy, watching somebody struggle and learn how to play. So I guess it depends on what kind of streamer you want to be.
Yeah, I'm definitely more that second one. I don't know. I feel like it just feels more genuine to me to like be like, okay, here's this game that I've been playing, but I still suck at it. But watch me figure it out.
Hmm.
Or even then, I still don't figure it out. That's why I've been playing a lot of rogue lights, Dead Cells, Hades,
Oh,
Don't
you should play
Starve to an
Gungeon.
extent. I probably need to pick that one up.
That one's really good. That's a bullet hell though.
Ooh, I'm real
So
bad at those.
yeah, but it's fun. I played a lot of that one. I have like maybe 100 hours between platforms on that one. I really like that one.
Man.
I personally really like.
Twitch.tv
Oh,
slash Elzoth underscore.
yep. I'll
That's my channel.
yeah, those will be in the description links of all of our
Oh
videos as
yeah.
well. Or we
Yeah.
probably could put those in. I mean, I don't care if you do. That's fine.
Like in the show note, I'm not gonna put it in like the podcast show notes,
I
but
can at least put in the YouTube one because it is your
yeah,
gameplay.
yeah. I made like a little watermark thing now, so it's not like like if you were to watch my other videos and turn the sound off, you couldn't tell who it was at all. So now I have a little watermark with my username.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So now you
Yeah.
can at least tell in the videos because the first two don't. I have learned to kind of cut out the first bit where you're in the menus.
Yeah.
So I cut out I did it backwards because for episode 2 I didn't. I just kind of put the audio on and let it play. So you're kind of hovering in the menus for a little while before it starts. But then with the first episode, when I used that Don't Starve footage, I cut out that whole time up until the point you hit
Yeah, where it
the
starts up on
yeah.
that was when I think I did a shipwrecked run, but I started as Woody and that was a bad choice.
Yeah, it's a bad move. It's a bad time.
I'm also super bad at Don't Starve. And I've played that's in my top 3 like playtime on Steam. And I'm still just
It's a
super
hard
super
game.
bad
It's a
at it.
very hard game.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you know what you're doing, I mean, you have to know exactly what you're doing, and also hope that you get good RNG and a bunch of other stuff too. I mean,
Yeah. That one definitely requires some looking through the wiki and then
oh
like
yeah,
planning and yeah, because I always get sidetracked. Like I'll see something cool in the crafting menu and like, all right, I'm gonna craft that. But then while I'm out searching for those pieces, I run out of like essential stuff, and then I end up dying or starving or whatever.
you very much have to have a plan
Hmm.
to succeed in that game, and it's kind of the same thing in their other game, No Oxygen Required.
Oh,
It's
do they make that too?
yeah, that's by Cly as well.
Nice.
And it's the same thing. It's like you can play it just by letting the game run and kind of figuring out as you go, but then you hit a point eventually where it's like, wow, I didn't do this, 10 days ago when I should have,
Mm-hmm.
and it completely destroys everything is fucked.
Yeah, man.
It's like in Don't Starve, if you set up your main camp in a place that's gonna get hit hard by a tree guardian or something like that, or or for some reason you're unlucky and you get like next to a like a some kind of boss that you don't
Yeah.
realize is gonna be there until the season changes,
Mm-hmm.
and it can just completely ruin everything. It's very much like that. You kind of need to know what you're doing beforehand, but kind of the fun of it is figuring out, like, you have those moments, except it takes hours and hours to get there.
Yeah.
Then you lose everything and you have to start over. So,
Yep. And that is exactly my experience. Is I just dump hours into it, and I'm still like I'm better off. I kind of know the basics of surviving and a couple fun tricks, but I still don't think I've made it through winter solo or multiplayer for that matter.
yeah, that one's tough. Winter is tough.
Yeah.
Winter's tough it's supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it
That
was it
was
was hard for
the
our ancestors to make it through winter.
mhm. That was the test of metal, Mettle. Uh that they'd go out and have to survive in the winter, like hunter dudes who were running around with just loincloths on most of the time, and they're like, oh well, now we have to like wear clothes when we hunt mammoths and things. That was probably their biggest issue, I think.
I mean, it probably didn't happen as like that, but yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm
Like,
sure they
isn't that
figured out
the
they had to put clothes on first before they were like, oh, you can't hunt a mammoth without clothes. I'm sure it was like it was really cold, and they were like, well, we should probably cover up our finer bits.
yeah,
Otherwise,
maybe.
we're not going to be able to reproduce, and we'll all die.
Yeah, but they did it. They made it through the winter, and now we're doing the same thing pretty much.
Same thing, except we got heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and bunch of
Modern
other
westernized medicine, and
many other amenities.
yeah.
But we're just, it's the same grind. We still got to go out there in that cold and
Basically, there's a lot of overlap between an ancient hunter gatherer alpha male and Elliot. There's there are a lot of things that those two have in common.
yeah, they had to worry about their, getting like their feet frostbitten if they didn't wrap them
Mhm.
in loincloth or something, and we have to worry about hitting a sheet of black ice when we're driving our car to our dead end job.
Mhm. Yeah. I
Same
was going to say
same
they
principle.
mhm. Like they used to wrap their feet up in loincloths, and I wrap my feet in socks all the
Oh
time
yeah,
because
or
my
you
feet are
wrap
just
your
always
you
cold.
wrap your tires and chains.
Oh yeah. No, I don't do that. That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and in some places you can get a lot of trouble if like you wrap them in chains in the morning, and then by
Mhm.
the evening, if it's like melted, you have to take them off,
Yeah, because
which
it
is
could like
also a
fuck
lot of
up the
work.
road.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a big deal. There was some weird like truck sim that we played in like middle school for some reason. I don't know. It was like 18-wheeler sim or something, and it was like, oh, you're passing through an icy area. Better stop and put your chains on. And then it would clear out, and you're like, cool, I didn't die. And it was like, oh, you got pulled over because you still have your chains on. I'm
yeah.
like, well, if this was real life, I would have remembered.
I mean, obviously you would have remembered. Hopefully you would have remembered, because they can do
Yeah,
a lot of damage to roads.
yeah. Dude, especially on like a semi truck, a big fat boy truck.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's definitely not the 18-wheeler game I played when I was in middle school. I played a game called Big Mother Truckers,
Mm.
and it was I mean, it was, it was a good trucking sim. It definitely wasn't like American Truck Simulator or Euro Truck Simulator, but I remember if you played as the girl, like, and you went into first person, you could like see all the fancy stuff she had in her trucks, and she had like a dildo and a bunch of other fun stuff. And
I, I like to imagine it's the like truck driving equivalent to a backyard wrestling game or something like
yeah,
that.
you can kind of think of it like that. Like there was
Just
like the two hillbilly dudes you could play as, but and it was actually a pretty good trucking sim because you had to like, you had to manage your weight and pick what
mm,
cargo you wanted to take to where and figure out
had
how
to go
much you
on a
can
diet.
make. Yeah, how
Yeah.
it was like running your own trucking company, except sometimes you would get attacked by motorcycle gangs and they would try to steal your cargo. So kind of similar to what you were talking about, but
Yeah, they sound like really similar games.
yeah. God, I haven't thought about that game in forever. It was just something that popped into my head when you said that, and it's like, wow, yeah, what an awful
Yeah.
game. And I played the fuck out of it because it was
Mm,
like one of the five PC games I owned at the time.
nice. The other four were dating sims, right?
This was before the advent of dating sims. I got all my dating
Oh.
sims on Newgrounds back then.
Oh. Yeah, me too.
I know
That's
the
why
other
in
one I
such
had was like
a
Morrowind, I think was another game I owned at that time.
nice. Dude, I tried playing Morrowind a few years back because it was on sale, and I was like, oh, Skyrim's fun, Oblivion's fun. Let me do Morrowind, and I got maybe an hour into it, and I just kept getting killed because I was like, oh, just be a ranger guy or something, and I was just super weak, and
Yeah, they
it was a
use
bad
that D
time.
and D for rolls. You roll every hit, and if you don't hit above,
Yeah,
if you roll like a seven, you're not going to hit. And the lower
yeah,
level
that
you
was
are, it's going to be harder to hit.
drove me crazy because I was like, I definitely hit him with this arrow. I saw it fly and hit him, but it didn't hit him,
No,
and I was yeah,
it's that D&D rules. You roll a one, you're going to miss critically.
man.
But if you can get past that, it's a pretty decent game.
Yeah, I should play them, but I think there was a giant mod that somebody was working on that would take the Skyrim graphics and make it into like superimpose it onto Morrowind. Superimpose is the wrong
Yeah,
word,
Skywind.
but yeah, Skywind, that's what it was called.
There was
I don't
also
know
more
if
Oblivion and Sky Oblivion.
mm-hmm.
And they were trying to do like what with Fallout they have like a Tale of Two Wastelands where you can merge Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas and play them simultaneously. It's like you can do, you have Fallout New Vegas mechanics with
Oh,
Fallout
with
3.
3, yeah.
Yeah,
I did play New Vegas a lot more than 3.
New Vegas was a good game. Still is a good game, still holds up. Some people love it, some people hate it.
Yeah.
I personally am in the category that loves it. I kind of
Yeah.
wish they would go back to that.
Yeah, same. I put a bunch of hours into Fallout 4, but it just doesn't hit the same.
No.
I never thought that like a game based in like a desert climate would be super, that engaging and stuff, and it totally is.
I
It
mean, it was the
surprised me.
writing. It was the writing that really carried it. There were a bunch of memorable characters. I mean, everybody remembers Joshua Graham and his,
Mm-hmm.
he was baptized in fire. Everybody remembers Boone and his whole, you know, his he had to snipe his wife because she was going to be sold off to slavers. So then
Yeah.
his whole like honor mission is going and taking out all the slavers.
Yeah.
It was just, I mean, And compared to Fallout 3, where Fallout 3 had such a weak story, it was so.
Mm-hmm.
I remember because I was super hyped for Fallout 3. It was my first Fallout game, but even I remember like at the end of the game, spoilers for Fallout 3 people. At the end of the game, the base game without the DLC, you could have like a super mutant guy in your party, and like the last thing you had to do was go into a super irradiated chamber and enter this code so you could purify the water. And it stands to reason that you could send the super mutant guy in because he's immune to radiation. But if
Yeah.
you try to do that, he's like, no, it's your destiny. You have to go in there and do it yourself.
Even though he could totally do it
Even
and
though he could totally, and
have
then the
no
DLC, they
harm.
made it so he could totally go and do it. Except if you like with the DLC installed, if you had him go in and punch in the code and solve the water crisis in DC, everyone would call you a pussy because you didn't do it
What?
yourself.
What?
It's like Bethesda. It's like they knew people were pissed about it, so they doubled down and were like, "Okay, fine, yeah, you can send them in to go and do it, but everyone's gonna think you're a pussy."
Damn, the Fallout devs were just like, yeah, that's a pussy move. So,
I mean,
yeah, we'll
yeah,
let you do
kinda,
it,
but
you
still, it's like
pussy.
I should have the option, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, as weak as the story was, you chasing your dad around and
Yeah.
whatever.
Your dad, Liam Neeson,
Yeah.
that was the big. That's like the only character I remember from that game was that Liam Neeson was like half white, half Asian, and then like your mother character was like half
Black,
Hispanic, half
half
black.
white.
So
I can't
yes,
remember. Yeah,
it
it
was
was like
something like
it
that. So it
was
was
made
like you
so
could
you
be
could pick
whatever.
any
Yeah,
race you wanted,
it was
and it
cool
was bad.
seeing a
It
half
was
Asian Liam
terrible.
Neeson though. I thought
I
that
mean,
was
that
fun.
wasn't terrible. That was fine, but the story was terrible. It was just bad.
Yeah, I mean,
And I will.
wasn't it like the
Mhm.
exact same plot as like Fallout One,
Yeah, I
where
mean, kinda where you have to go in. You're sent off in Fallout One. He's picked by the
overseer or whatever?
overseer, and he's like, hey, you're going to be the one that goes out to the waste, and you need to get us a new water chip because our water chip for our GEC is, it's ruined, and we only have like 200 days. So he
Yeah,
sends the chosen one, I think. No, is maybe the chosen one's the second. Chosen one's the second.
first one is the Vault Dweller.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he gets sent out, and you have to go do a bunch of hijinks within the allotted period of time, because if you don't, then it's game over. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have multiple saves backed up from weeks before, you can just fuck everything.
Man,
It's a good game. I think 2 is better if you're gonna play
yeah.
those CRPG games. And 3 was just like a reimagining, but yeah, it did kind of have the same story, except you were trying to bring water to the whole area instead of just a
Oh,
vault.
oh. See, I thought the Fallout Three, it was like it was the water was issue was in the vault itself, but
It was, and it was because DC's water was going bad. It's like they were hooked up to the
oh,
main water. I think it's like they
that
were
makes
hooked up to the
sense.
main water line, and it was starting to go bad. And that's why your dad left, was to go and figure out why. So that was the whole thing with 3, was you're supposed to figure out the water issue with DC, which it's canon that you fix it, but
Mm-hmm.
not exactly canon if he survives or not, which doesn't really matter. It's
Yeah,
like the courier, it doesn't matter if he lived through the new divide or whatever.
yeah. Even though the courier was an awesome character,
Oh yeah, total badass.
super badass. And then I think Benny was Matthew Perry,
Yeah, it was
which
Matt
is really
Perry.
cool.
Yeah, they had a lot of you know, famous. I mean, Ron Perlman, he's always the narrator.
Oh yeah, that's right. He does the.
War never changes.
Mm-hmm. Hey, by the way, I'm Hellboy. I think that's in the
By the
original
way.
Fallout script.
I believe Michael Dorn was also, Worf. He was in
Oh,
it. I think he's Fox. I'm pretty sure he plays a super mutant.
oh, that's cool.
I remember some other big ones. Matt Mercer, of course.
Oh yeah, he's in everything, but
Yeah,
that's because he's a fucking wizard with his voice.
yeah, he is. Very much so.
Yeah, I used to want to be a voice actor, and then I realized that my voice acting is really bad. Uh, Going back and listening to our last episode where we talked about Shakespeare dying, and I did this impression of like a town crier in London, and it was really bad. Like while recording it, I thought it sounded pretty good. And I was like, man, I'm happy with this. And then I went back and listened to it. And I was like, oh, I'm really bad. And it was so bad that I got this Facebook message the other day from well, I don't want to reveal who it is at first because she is very high profile and sort of runs a country that I may or may not have done a terrible accent of.
J.K. Rowling.
It might as well be. Um. Anyway, I got this Facebook message. I want to read it to you real quick here. Um. To whom it may concern, I'm done with that. I'm not gonna do. That was just another taste. If this is your first episode listening to us, I am really bad at accents. That was a side note. I was absolutely appalled at this last week's episode. This quote unquote Elliot's impression is just so offensive. The Parliament has been meeting to rename the Sherwood Forest as retribution. And yeah, it's
So you got a whole fucking country to put on those stupid wigs to take away your family's birthright?
that's right. Yeah,
Jesus
the
Christ.
the entirety of that country was built on the backs of Sherwoods, and because of my super offensive accent, they're actually erasing all trace of my ancestors from the country. Hence the renaming of Sherwood Forest. It says here that they're talking to Elijah Wood and gonna name it the Elijah Wood because one, he's way more handsome than Elliot, and he actually does a respectable accent.
God, is Disney gonna have to go back into the vault and change the entirety of Robin Hood now?
Yeah, I think they do.
Fuck.
I believe there is a very similar message.
They can't. They can't.
No, they
Can't
have
let
to.
them do that.
Yeah, they're going to. It's going to be a really bad censor job. Like every time the name Sherwood pops up on screen, there's just going to be like black bars over it. Really
Ugh,
jarring. But
that's
they got to
gross.
do it hasty. When
Yeah,
when people want to strike at us, come at us, and cancel us, they have to do it fast because they know that we're on the ball
they
and that
better
we'll
do it
cancel them
fast.
first.
Yeah. Or we'll cancel ourselves first.
That's right.
And
The
that's a
entirety of the
Midwest
UK.
scumbag promise. We'll cancel ourselves before you can, you fucking. And then just put a giant censor thing
Yeah,
here.
just you
Just censor
you
up, beep all that out. Beep all this out, too.
beep all this out. Just dropping slurs. I don't know what a slur towards like a Brit would be.
Bad teeth.
Oh yeah, that stings. Yeah, but
That's the
it
only
makes
one I could
sense.
think of.
Oh, and their food is bad from what I hear.
How about you go eat some fucking tea and crumpets, you little bitch?
Yeah. How about you cook up some bangers and mash?
How about you go oppress another country and force them into terroristic acts? You should probably cut that out.
No,
Like,
they straight up invented colonialism.
yeah, they did.
they taught everybody how to do it, and America was like, we don't want to be part of you anymore, but we really like your
But we'll
idea of
do it
making other people
ourselves.
do it. And that's where we are today.
And that's
Nice
probably where we're
little,
going to be for, ever.
yeah, yeah.
Unless we somehow come up with a way to, I don't know. I don't know how to solve all the world's problems. That's not what I'm here to do.
No, that was not our goal in making this podcast.
It was
I
just to
forget what
talk
the goal
about
was.
shit for an hour,
Yeah,
sometimes more, sometimes with more than two people, sometimes with only one person, and sometimes not at all.
that
Because we don't bow to anybody, and we don't follow any schedules.
that's correct. We will never bend the knee. Not to you, not to your colleagues, not to your quote unquote police officers.
Not to your dad, not to your mom, not to your brother, not to your sister, and not especially not to your grandmother, that lying whore.
That's true. I have heard your grandma is a whore.
But now that we've let the people know that what we're about, I think we should call it a night.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, hey, yeah, we totally hit an hour. Sweet. Well, thank you for coming along with us, everybody. We have some big announcements coming up on the way. Stay tuned. Plug it in. Download all of the podcast apps, then download all of our episodes on them.
Send them to your friends, and then also send phishing links to your friends that take them to our podcast, and also maybe install malware on their computer.
Yeah. Make your friends not trust you. Just start spouting, Midwest scumbags. These guys are the best. They're fucking awesome. And I mean, most of the world already agrees with you. It's just that all the people who listen that make our show super popular, they're a little bit embarrassed of it, so they don't outright come out with it.
You got to take the Midwest scum pill.
It's correct. Do it.
And with that, I bid everyone a fond farewell. Have a great week.
Yeah.